Welcome to this latest edition of the Delivery Profits, brought to you by the Delivery World together with Avico. We're so grateful for all you out there who tune in regularly for this podcast. Without you, we're just a bunch of guys and girls talking to each other in a recording studio. I'm Peter Backman, and today, together with John Borzicchiello and our special guest, Joss Simons, as usual, we'll talk about delivery in general and ways to make it accessible and profitable. And no doubt we'll get on to other topics too, as we try to get a deep understanding of the forces shaping this rapidly evolving sector. But before we get on to that, John, I got stuck on the tube and I wasn't quite sure I was going to make it today. Fortunately, the doors shut and we were off, but I just find it frustrating.
I agree. In every way possible, Peter. I was on the, 7:15 out of Loughborough this morning. Got on fantastic. It was on time, which is nice. To have no seats whatsoever. And to be fair to this staff on the train, they were very apologetic. But if anyone from East Midlands trains listening, needs to get better, guys. Anyway, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we're all supposed to be working from home but coming back into our office. Today's a Tuesday and the trains are absolutely jammed solid.
Let's look at trains. Say we do this podcast. It's delivery. They're delivering people from the suburbs, from out of town, from cities, into London, into various places across the UK. And if we look at those, how we look at this food and drink delivery, it's very similar, isn't it? It's experience.
Yeah, it's a good insight. As long as I don't have to ride on a pack on your back on a bicycle.
That wouldn't be good, Peter. Definitely not.
Anyway, I think it's probably time to get the show on the road. So, as usual, let me set the scene with some thoughts that I prepared earlier. Business, like life itself, is not easy. If you were able to turn the clock back 15 years, what will we see in the world of restaurants? What pressures were we facing then? Growth would have been one, profitability another, finding workers would be a third. And if we were successful, other pressures would arise too. Expansion, for example, and then there would have been the search for working capital. And so the list goes on. Since those times, when the pressures haven't reduced, our world has been disrupted by delivery, and with it, the emergence of a raft of other players, some of whom, and I'm thinking especially of delivery aggregators, are formidable, both as supporters and as competitors. So, restaurant operators have a widening range of issues to resolve, and arguably a widening range of solutions too, that are going to help with growth and expansion into new areas, bolstered by partnership, if that's the word, with delivery aggregators. These solutions have given rise to additional problems, the pressure on profits, for example, and opportunities, such as those in the form of ghost kitchens, in both bespoke locations and from existing hotel and restaurant kitchens. In turn, these have given rise to virtual brands, or brands that, while not virtual, are not known as bricks and mortar restaurants in the areas in which the host kitchen operates. It's been an ongoing picture of solution, opportunity, challenge, and back to solution. So the world of delivery goes round. Business was difficult 15 years ago. Is it more difficult today? John, what do you think?
Experience. Again, we come back to that experience, and whether it's a restaurateur in a bricks and mortar, whether it's a ghost kitchen, whether it's a company like we had Mate on from Grove, whether they're doing something completely different, it all comes back, Peter, to this pressure cooker, doesn't it? It's everything's going into this pot, and the steam's rushing out the top. At what stage does that pot just go bang? Because there's so much there with the aggregators, with costs, with data, that a million questions could be answered. But where does it stop? Because it feels at the moment, especially, that this wheel's trying to be reinvented of delivery. Delivery's been there forever, as we know. And we know the aggregators are in. We know some people do it themselves. There's companies out there, Domino's, Papa John's, that are born for delivery. They don't even have bricks and mortar. but it all seems that it's very up in the air again, a mixture.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're painting a little bit of a doomsday scenario, as if it's all going to blow up and that's the end of it. But of course, I guess we've been here before many, many times over my lifetime and earlier as well. So I think the industry copes with pressure. It's very good at actually coping with pressure. It's certainly an aggregate because it's got so many bits and pieces and so many people, entrepreneurial, innovative people, as well as people who just get on with the job. So I think there are inbuilt benefits in the restaurant sector, which extends to delivery. But I take it absolutely that you're right as well. That today there are some exceptional pressures, and it's probably going to lead to a time when delivery, and the restaurant sector in general, but delivery in particular, when it starts to just take stock and calm down and just work through where it actually is.
Do you think, Peter, that there's going to be a change in this delivery market? We all know it's not going to go anywhere. Delivery is here to stay. And the different formats that are there at the moment, no one seems to be a clear leader on the different formats. From your experience and knowing what you do in America, do you think there is going to be someone that's just going to come and almost Amazon this space?
I would be surprised.
Okay.
Yeah, I just go back to the point that there are so many elements to the restaurant business in so many different countries, and it works differently. What works in the UK doesn't necessarily work in the Netherlands, and we're next door to each other. What works in the UK may well not work in Indonesia, which where things are very, very different. So I don't see one overarching model, but certain basic principles I think are going to apply. And it may be that our guest is actually going to be able to shine some light on that. Maybe I've posed him a problem that he'd rather not have. But anyway.
I'd never be so.
So I guess it's time to bring on our guest, that's Josh Simons. Josh is the co-founder and owner of Chicken and Blues restaurants and Flamingo Cafe bars based on the south coast of England, which, if you don't know it, and I know a lot of our listeners wouldn't know it, it's a great place to spend a day or a weekend or a holiday. The playground of England. Anyway, Josh, is there anything that I've said or John has said that you want to pick up on?
Well, I suppose there's a little bit of a focus on where this is all headed with delivery aggregators. I'm of the opinion that it's certainly not going anywhere. I think innately humans are lazy, and what delivery does is enable them to not inconvenience themselves by having to go out and pick things up and park their cars or work with, get on public transport and just have things delivered to them whilst they're sat in the comfort of their own home. So it ticks a huge box, and I suppose it's just a matter of now being really good at it, being as efficient at it as you can, so that you meet the needs of the public.
Yeah, I think I'm sure you're right. So, how have you addressed that problem or conundrum or whatever it is in terms of the businesses that you run?
Well, we kind of stumbled across delivery. I'd have to say we opened our first Chicken and Blues site in 2013 in Bournemouth, in a quite a downtrodden area of the town, and as it was a kind of concept that we just created and wanted to prove, we had a very small site, we had a low overhead site. A bunch of my friends got together, threw a few quid in each, and opened up this new barbecue chicken concept. And it only had 8 seats in there. And I remember someone on Facebook in those days commenting, "That'll never work. It's only got 8 seats. It's nowhere near big enough." And I remember thinking, he's probably right, actually. How much money can you take in an 8-seater restaurant? So we thought, okay, we need to do some takeaway. And thankfully, we landed on our feet with that, and our product travelled really well, barbecue chicken, sides, etc. But then we thought, actually, if we do enable delivery as a channel, our 8-seater restaurant turns into an 80,000 cover restaurant immediately. Then it comes down to how much capacity you've got for throughput in the kitchen, etc. You encounter different challenges. And around that sort of time, Deliveroo were coming to market. One of their sales guys turned up in Bournemouth. We tried doing delivery ourselves with our own driver fleet. We were taking in orders from Just Eat, which in those days obviously just gave you orders but then left you to deliver them. And we found it incredibly complex to do that well, with the labour burn and how many riders you need at X amount of times during the day for the orders you may or may not get. And Deliveroo kind of solved this issue by saying, look, we'll provide you with the riders, we'll provide you with a fantastic piece of technology so people can order through something that looks good and works. And if you've got no orders on, you're not paying for any riders. So we thought, okay, let's go for it. And, I think we were the first restaurant in Bournemouth to sign up on Deliveroo. And we've been with them for 8 years now, exclusively. We signed, in fact, yesterday, a new 3-year exclusive with them. So it's been eight years of learning, really, but Deliveroo solved a lot of problems for restaurant operators like us. It enables you to scale your delivery channel. And then, it's taken us 8 years, really, to work out the correct modelling in regards to commission percentage, menu pricing online to in-store, all that sort of stuff. We think we're nearly there, but it's taken a long time.
It's interesting because you're echoing or making points that I think we hear quite a lot. That, first of all, it's not one person that does this, but it's a number. I'd be interested to know who the we actually are without going into the detail, but that's not my main point. And the other thing is the fact that you didn't have a big vision. You took one step at a time and listen to feedback generally. I mean, looking at the orders, looking at what works, what doesn't work. So it's a bit of probably not fair to you to say you stumbled along it, but there is a process of being unplanned and actually arriving somewhere. But again, that might not be where you end up.
No, I mean, I think that 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, when we opened up that restaurant, delivery was kind of Domino's and a few brands that were kind of specialists in it, but you couldn't rightly call yourself a restaurateur if you were putting food in boxes and sending it out in plastic bags. It didn't feel right, So I come from a restaurant background. My dad had restaurants in London and in the Poole area when we moved down there 20 years ago. So I was like traditional restaurant background. And for me, it kind of felt cheap, having a takeaway operation. But like I say, firstly, we thought we need to do it because we've got this tiny little restaurant and we can't fit enough people in there to spend money in store. And Deliveroo came down to the town in those days and gave us an opportunity to scale. And we thought, actually, if we are going to do this, and like I said previously, we got a bit lucky with our product, actually, because it travelled well. We didn't design it that way. It was more luck than design. And we thought, actually, if we do double down on this, and I'll say another thing to mention, 10 years ago, and I still hear it today, a lot of restaurant brands say, you're in bed with the devil with delivery operators and, or aggregators, and, they're a necessary evil and these sorts of things, kind of derogatory, negative, connotations to working with them. But actually, if you get the model right and the product right, then why not embrace it? And we decided to double down on delivery. We've become I think we're in the top 3 largest independent by order volume in Southern England on Deliveroo.
So how can you deliver all this stuff out of an 8-seater restaurant?
Well, we moved it. At the beginning of the pandemic, we thought actually, that was a very, very weird time for operators. Obviously, we have like a battle plan meeting every morning at 9 a.m. on Zoom with my operations manager and my business partner. At that point, we had 3 sites. We had 2 in Bournemouth and 1 in Poole, with our original very small site, which I mentioned. So we actually closed the small site, moved our remaining team over to our other bigger site in Bournemouth, which immediately stopped cannibalisation of orders in the Bournemouth area on Deliveroo. So the larger site swallowed up the whole of Bournemouth's radius orders, doubled its delivery revenue overnight. We realised how much it was cannibalising each other's orders when we closed one of them. And we then had an A team in Bournemouth, and since then we've opened up in Christchurch as well. So we've got 1 site in Bournemouth, 1 site in Poole, 1 site in Christchurch, 3 adjacent towns. The radiuses don't really cross over too much. They each have a decent population to work with. And like I say, having a bigger kitchen and bigger throughput. We haven't got any more than 20 cupboards in our Bournemouth site still. It's still a small site, but it has a kitchen which is as big a footprint, if not bigger, than the restaurant space. So we're able to have an engine room that can pump out it does £25,000 a week plus in delivery orders out of that one site.
And interestingly, Josh, you say that's amazing, isn't it? When you look at a small site, you've moved to the next one, and the growth that you do in business is opening new sites where you are 1, 2, 3 in a triangle. So it works. With Deliveroo, and you class them as partners, which again I think is fantastic, because there has been a lot of negative, but from you, you're the positive of how have Deliveroo, or have they spoke to you, I'm sure they have, around dark kitchens, and you can move that brand to London, Birmingham, Manchester. Has that been a conversation? Or
we've done it. We've done it. Years ago, or probably 6 years ago now, they came to us and said, look, we've got this new concept called Additions, which is our kind of dark kitchen model. You guys are very, very strong, efficient, high rated, product travels well, etc. Would you like to come and have a go at hosting a dark kitchen in Reading, which is obviously a couple of hours drive from Bournemouth? We said, yeah, okay, we'll do it. We did it. We did a 6-month initial kind of trial contract there. We generated decent orders, but nothing overly exciting. And when they came to re-signing us for a year, we said, you know what, probably not going to be our future. We were quite early in our journey then, I'd say, and it was a bit of a trial for us. And then a couple of years ago, they said, how about Bristol? Come and do a dark kitchen in Bristol. It's a much bigger catchment than Reading was. You guys are going to smash it over there. We said, all right, we'll do it. We'll give one more go. We're now much more kind of in a position where we can take advantage of this type of model, because we felt like we were more efficient. Our pricing was better. Our margins were better than it was previously when we were in Reading. Went to Bristol, similar story. Generated 8 to 10 grand a week in revenue. We were sending our best chefs up from Bournemouth, to go and have a meeting. It was a 6-hour round trip. Wasn't massively profitable with the modelling delivery use of dark kitchens. We're not really getting our brand on the high street by being in a warehouse. I went into the warehouse quite a few times and thought, I wouldn't want to work in here, really. It was like working in a dark factory. So we said to our team that were there, look, come back. At that point, we bought our Christchurch restaurant, come back and launch Christchurch. I think that we because in summary of the dark kitchen stuff, for me, I can see it working as a satellite delivery hub for an established brand to take pressure off their restaurant operation. I know Dishoom use satellite dark kitchens because they don't want delivery riders cramming their restaurants in London. I get that. It might be that you go to a new city as a big brand, develop a delivery market in a dark kitchen, then open your site there, which is kind of what our strategy was for Bristol. But to scale a dark kitchen, model, you're paying out 25-30%. Granted, it includes overheads, but paying out, say, 30% on every order with no dine-in or takeaway.
It's impossible, isn't it?
Yeah. If you're paying 30% on 100% of your orders, you've got to have a seriously expensive menu to make it stack up. And if it doesn't fit your future-proofing of your brand, i.e. you want to open a site in that city, then I don't see the point. It's not adding any value to your business.
It's interesting you say about brand. It's around brand equity, isn't it? And you've got the brand equity on that South Coast because people that live in that area, whether they're one end or the other end of, they get to see your brand, they get to see it out there. Deliveroo, it's top of the list or near the top of the list. I had a conversation a few months ago now with a national QSR operator. There are about 80 sites at the minute. And interestingly, I was like, so where do you go next? And they say, it's all about just keeping your radius there. And they said till they get to about 120, they don't have that brand.
Yeah.
For people to go, I'm going to go there instead of to one of the big 3 or to one of the big 5. And that brand piece, Peter, is so important.
Yeah, I was going to ask Josh actually a question whether you're running a business which is a brand that has got a few seats attached to it, or it's a restaurant brand that you're able to extend into other areas that you wouldn't otherwise able to do. I think there is a distinction between the two. Is it a restaurant with a brand or a brand that is associated with a restaurant?
It's a really good question. I think it's something that we've discussed in-house a lot. Essentially, we created Chicken and Blues. It didn't exist before. So it was an entrepreneurial endeavour. we've attached what we think is a great product and a very efficient service to this brand. We're building a brand. But that's our primary cause. Attached to that brand are different formats of how you may use it. And what I think the exciting thing with Chicken and Blues as a concept and brand is that you can see Chicken and Blues working in different formats. We can go small format, quick serve over the counter sort of stuff, like in Waterloo. I can imagine us having a kiosk here doing our quick serve stuff. Or we can go large seater restaurants. I mean, out of the 3 sites that we have, our Bournemouth site is very small and does 70-80% takeaway and delivery, whereas our Christchurch and Poole sites have got 40-50 covered dining areas attached to a takeaway area, and are more like 50-60% takeaway delivery and do much more dine-in. Well, I think you are in danger of losing authenticity as a restaurant brand if you don't do dine-in at all. You then become, an e-commerce business essentially. It's just takeaway.
Yes, or a product that you can buy off the shelf in the supermarket. Yeah, I mean, actually, what you're talking about is what I hear quite a lot when I talk to people, my US colleagues. Restaurants tend to have 4 channels. One is dine-in, one is takeout, one is delivery, and one is what they call catering, which is providing food in bulk for events. So there are these 4 elements that any restaurant can conceivably do. I don't hear that from UK companies, but I'm hearing it from you, which is actually quite an interesting insight.
Yeah, I mean, catering is a great channel, and I that does feel quite Americanized. When you go onto American QSR brands, there's always a catering tab on their website, and they talk a lot about, catering for large groups, large events, big office events, etc. Again, we kind of stumbled on this ourselves with Chicken and Blues as a concept, because one of our hero products on our menu is a chicken wrap. I mean, it sounds like a very basic product, but we do it well. We also have the personalisation attached to it by adding your favourite sauces, your favourite add-ons. So actually you can have 20 people sat around the table, all having ordered a chicken wrap, but all having a different style of chicken wrap that suits their tastes, and they all kind of feel like they own that dish. And as such, we get lots and lots of large office delivery orders through Deliveroo, but also through collection. And nothing pleases me more than when we open our doors at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. I go on the Deliveroo platform to see what orders have come in, and we've got a £600 delivery order booked for midday there. It only comes in 5 minutes before. I mean, it was doesn't no notice really. So the teams are under a bit of pressure to execute these. But if you can get your day off to a £600 order start at 11 a.m, it enough makes a difference at the end of the week. So we are actually using that going forward as a bit of focus for us. So actually Deliveroo for business essentially, also our collection channel as well. And offering, the opportunity for offices of 50 to 100 people to go and spend £1,000 for lunch makes a huge difference.
I can see John wants to ask a question, and I've got a question to ask as well. But just let me just sort of break in here and say that if you're enjoying the show, please consider supporting us by leaving a 5-star rating on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. Your ratings and reviews mean the world to us and help more people discover our content. Plus, it's the best way to show your appreciation for the hard work the Delivery World team, the Avico team, and our fabulous guests put into every episode. So go ahead, hit that 5-star button, and there are full instructions in the show notes.
8 years you've been doing it. It sounds fantastic what you've done. You've built it from, like you say, your 8-seater. You've developed your menu to fit. You've worked with Deliveroo exclusively. What's your biggest learning for our listeners out there that are at the start of their journey maybe, or they're just into their journey? What is your learning that you could give advice-wise?
I would say that it's taken a lot longer to build trust in the market than I thought it would have done with a business. I mean, I had business before, but I was in the nightclub industry where every 3 to 5 years you're kind of in these cycles. You can't expect a nightclub to last longer than 4 or 5 years, but restaurants, if you get past that 5-year mark and up towards, we're 11 years now with Chicken and Blues, it's taken us nearly a decade to establish the brand even in our local area, because maybe it's harder to establish brands in small towns because a lot of people know you, They don't maybe think that, you start getting above the parapet and open up this new concept, and people either don't care or would quite like to see you fail a lot of the time, actually. We've got some great support in our local town, but it's taken 10 years. I think one of the learnings is that you've got to stick around for a long time to build a brand that people care about. And secondly, more kind of functional stuff. Margin and profit, it shouldn't be a taboo subject. I mean, in this country, we seem to kind of not want to talk about profitability because, it's a bit crass. But if you're not making money, it doesn't make sense. And I'll say with obviously this podcast is about delivery. It's taken us 8 years to get our deal with Deliveroo right. And what I mean by that is the commission percentage. It's the impact that it has on internal operations and setting up our kitchens in such a way that we can do 3 or 4 channels, not just delivery. Getting the volumes to a level where they're significant enough that we care about them a lot, and getting the product right. I'll say it's taken us 8 years to get product, service, operations, commission percentage, and the relationship with delivery to a level where we now think actually this is an exciting business. We can do all channels. Our kitchens are set up to do them. But most importantly, and to answer your question, what have I learned? The delivery channel has got to be profitable. It's not a marketing exercise. It's got to be a profitable channel. And I see too many restaurant brands at 30% commission, either doing deals, which I know Deliveroo's become a little bit of a Groupon for restaurants recently, which I have told them I'm not very happy about, and a lot of restaurant partners are. They're doing deals, or they're outpricing themselves by increasing their menu pricing on delivery by 30-40%, in which case they're damaging their brand because the perception is actually they're ripping people off. They just can't get it right. And then when they do get busy with the promotion, their in-store customers that are sat down having a meal in their lovely restaurant are surrounded by, helmets. Yeah. To paraphrase the wrong word probably, but Deliveroo helmets. Do you know what I mean? So it impacts their brand and experience. So it's very difficult to get right. I'm not by any means saying that we cracked it, but I do feel like we're 90% of the way there.
And out of the 4 channels you've just spoke about, let's take Deliveroo as one and the other 3 together. What's your split between Deliveroo and everything else approximately?
I'll say as a blended average across the 3 restaurants, we're probably 50% delivery.
Okay.
And then the rest, the other channels.
And like you say, that's a big number to care about.
It is a big number to care about. And one other thing I would say as well, which the naysayers of delivery aggregators will probably need to hear about or consider, is if you're good at delivery, then you're weatherproofing your restaurant, right? I mean, when it's raining and hailstorms and snow and hurricanes, right? Who's going out to eat in a restaurant unless it's a really special occasion? Right? People, if it's a shall we go out to eat tonight kind of conversation, you look out the window and go, it's never rain.
Yep.
No, we're not going to bother.
I'll charge you.
There you go. Right. So what we found is I used to wake up in the morning, look out the window and think, if it's sunshine, I'm going to take a few quid, and if it's raining, I'm going to get hit. Now I look out the window and it's raining, I'm thinking, brilliant, we're going to have a massive day on delivery today, and we always do. So it weatherproofs restaurant concepts if you get delivery right, and I'd say that's a huge insurance policy.
Definitely. And Peter, this is what Josh says there about the 50-50 split almost is, does it now, I don't think we've ever gone down this route of, does it make the restaurant more worthy to the Deliveroo than vice versa? Because we always speak about an aggregator, the operators need them. Actually, the aggregators need people like Josh at this level, otherwise they don't have businesses.
No, I think actually that's a very interesting point. And your restaurant then is a resource that needs to be encouraged and cherished by the aggregators. And it strikes me that what I hear is that as a class, and I'm not pointing the finger at any particular company, the aggregators have become quite aggressive on the delivery side and haven't been involved in the actual restaurant business, not seeing it as part of what they do. It's not their core capability. And of course, the restaurant doesn't want the delivery company taking an interest in that part. But extending this idea of partnership that might well be something that we see happening a little bit more in the future. I don't know what shape that could take.
No, it's interesting, isn't it?
I don't know if you've got any comments on that, Josh, but leap in if you do. But I was going to ask some questions about people, because we always take the view that restaurants are about people.
Yeah.
If you don't have people, you don't have a restaurant. And in delivery, and you've pointed this out already, people perhaps working in a dark kitchen will be required to work in uncomfortable positions. And then you've got the riders, and you've got the sheer change and turmoil that goes on in the kitchen when a big order comes in. So people are hugely important for delivery as well. And I'm just going to sort of throw that question open to you, whether you have any comments.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that it's the biggest challenge for restaurant operators ongoing is to build a great team that have the necessary skills, and more importantly, the attitude towards hospitality to enable the restaurant to succeed. And really, where delivery comes in here is that the whole kind of concept of working in a restaurant has changed. I mean, when I first started working in my dad's restaurants when I was in my early teens, everyone was paying cash. He wouldn't dream of doing takeaway and delivery. If you worked in his restaurant, you worked in a traditional restaurant operation, and you served tables and you took bills and you poured wine and you spoke to people. You met customers, you got to know them, their best, favourite tables. I know there's lots of restaurants like that now, but when you look at the delivery segment of this business, we're getting guys and girls coming to work for us who want to work in a restaurant, and they find themselves packing bags all night, like they're working in a factory. So the challenge is how do you make these guys feel like they're working in hospitality? And I think our slogan for our group is elevate your day. And we ask our teams to elevate the days of their colleagues, and as well as elevating the days of our guests and suppliers, one of which, or supplier partners, which you'd have to say are the riders. Our teams have got to know our riders because they're so regular really well. They give them food, they give them drink, they have a chinwag with them whilst they're waiting for their bags. We try and make it as friendly as possible so that when all said and done at the end of the shift, everyone involved in the operation feels like they've actually been involved in a hospitality business.
High fives, all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Josh, is that possible if you move to London, Birmingham, Bristol, you've done through the dark kitchen? Because in Bournemouth and Christchurch and Portland, there's going to be a lot more locality around it. That there's not as many brands. You guys have built yourselves up to be an amazing brand there.
Yeah.
If you did expand into the UK, into different cities, do you think that element goes, or is it something your ethos around your business is built on?
I think you can tell a good story about how it won't dilute, but inevitably it does, because you're out of reach of your restaurants, your bricks and mortar sites. You try and you'd like to think you could bring your brand values to other cities and build your teams around that culture that you've created. I haven't done it before, so I'd be lying to say that we can do it again. It'd be treading on new ground, new territories for us. But the bigger question there really is, do we even want to scale the brand across the UK? I mean, I've seen enough horror stories from friends of mine in the industry, or people that are waving red flags at us when we talk about this sort of stuff, to say, well, there is a lot to be said for having a smaller company that you own all of. I mean, we haven't got any private equity investment. Myself and my business partner own 100% of the shares. Why can't we just have a brilliant dividend business and have a nice life and enjoy running it? Why is it seen as being a failure if you don't go to adjacent cities and territories and prove yourself there with private equity money, where I'll be sat on my desk writing reports for someone all day? Do I want that kind of life? It's a lifestyle question. We're erring towards being in Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole. We've got obviously Chicken and Blues and another brand and a few brand concepts that are bubbling away in the background. When I get to 50 or 60, would I like Avery Hospitality Group to have a number of brands all within touching distance? My kids can work in the business. We execute them to the level we expect. highly profitable, pay ourselves a nice few quid, and enjoy our lives. I'll be quite happy with that.
Sunshine of the South Coast sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, why do I want to be on the... Well, my dad did it. I mean, my dad was in the fashion industry many years ago. They owned a brand called Mark One, the discount fashion retailer. It was kind of the one of the first discount fashion retailers in the UK. And they had 20 stores within the M25, made a load of money. My granddad, my dad and my uncle. And my dad always says to me, as soon as we tried to go UK-wide, which they did at 110 stores in the end, he said, we made more money with 20 stores within the M25 than we had 110 around the UK. At that point, we had private equity investment. I was on the motorways and on planes every morning. I never saw the kids, never saw me and my three sisters. He was out. He's only in his late 20s. He said, don't make the mistakes I did. He said, I tried to make 100 million, ended up falling flat on my face. He said, have a fantastic business and enjoy your life. It's not all about trying to make 100 mil.
It's like we said this morning, isn't it? It's more important when the kids have forgot their PE kits or water bottles.
There you go.
Than being stuck in Warrington to phrase.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday morning.
My son's 15. He's just started working for us in Chicken and Blues, KPing, and there's 20, 30 quid a shift or whatever he does. But he listens to me on the phone at home. He's getting involved with the marketing. He wants to run our TikTok channel. Like, amazing. If I went PE, go UK wide, where does he fit into that as my little boy? So it's a more of a holistic question and one that I'm quite philosophical about, because I've always wanted to be rich, but I don't really care about money now. I'm not saying I've got a lot of it. I care far more about building a beautiful business.
We won't tell Deliveroo that.
No. And do you know what? When you say rich, what is being rich? Do you know what?
Exactly. Yeah.
You could have all the money in the world. Doesn't bring that smile on your face, or that conversation with one of your customers because you know where they live and you know that whole experience. And there really isn't.
What I would say is that I'm not discounting wanting to try and prove that Chicken and Blues can work in other towns or cities, but that's more of a personal goal. Not because I'm trying to meet the needs of a PE firm that have stuck a few million quid into the business.
I guess you'd be quite happy covering the UK, providing all those other criteria that you just set out existed as well.
Yeah.
And the chances that that's going to happen is probably quite small, I think, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, we've been courted by private equity firms, your property agents showing us sites around the country, and maybe it's because I'm 40 plus 2 now. In my 20s, I probably would have chucked it all on red and gone, let's go for it. But when you've actually built something that's worth money, that makes a lot of money, that supports your family, you've got kids to worry about, some more responsibilities, you're in a different phase of your life, and actually think, well, it's not worth risking it. I'm happy to take more risks, but not to that level where I'm then working for someone, and if it goes wrong, I can end up with nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So we're sort of within sight of the finishing post. We're not there yet. Is there anything that we've been talking about that you feel you want to add to? That's one thing. Or is there any other topic that you really felt you want to cover that we haven't touched on yet?
I think maybe it's worth mentioning multi-aggregator against exclusive.
A good question.
Yeah, because I think that that's something that we've been in discussions with over the last few weeks. So it's kind of pertinent to our current topics within our company. We've obviously been Deliveroo exclusive for 8 years. We've been courted by Just Eat and Uber Eats, and I know that a lot of operators listening may have been courted by Uber Eats, especially because they're trying to buy up the market really. And because Chicken and Blues is quite a prominent brand in our region, by volume and by brand fame, etc., Uber Eats have kind of targeted us as being the one brand that if we can get them, then more may follow. I suppose what their strategy is. And we've been offered an enormous amount of money by our standards. I know that some of the people listening may have been offered a lot more. We're only a small business, but we offer a significant amount of money to switch. And we took the decision yesterday not to, because we believe that, in our opinion, working exclusively with one aggregator and driving the commission down to a reasonable level so that channel is profitable is a better move than going multi-aggregator all at higher percentages, and then with neither aggregator really dedicating much time to you because you're with two aggregators. Deliveroo do a lot for us. They invest in us with marketing, they invest in us with all kinds of stuff, and now they're giving us a percentage on a 3-year exclusive where that channel now is an exciting channel. But like I said earlier in the chat, that's taken 8 years. So I suppose that's one thing that I know a lot of restaurants consider. I would say go exclusive with one, drive the deal down to a reasonable percentage that makes it profitable, and then double down on that for a long period of time and build it. That is my advice.
Yes, I think a couple of our previous guests would echo what you've said.
Definitely.
But I don't think that everybody is going to agree with you.
No. Some of the bigger brands have got multi-aggregator. Maybe they've been able to drive both aggregators down to a reasonable percentage. The Five Guys of this world, McDonald's. Not everyone's Five Guys at McDonald's, though. But, I'm representing the independents out there that are struggling to make a few quid.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to lose money on delivery if you don't get that modelling right. So, like I said earlier, profit shouldn't be a taboo subject. It's got to be profitable.
One last one for you from me, Josh. Around, obviously, over the 10, 11 years, you've learned there's lots of things happened. How's technology helped you achieve what you've got to?
It's been transformative. When we first trialled delivery in-house with our own delivery drivers, the phone was ringing every 20 seconds and you couldn't hear what the customer was saying. You're writing the wrong postcodes down. People were prank calling us and we were sending deliveries off. If they were 5 minutes late, it was cash on delivery. The customer would say, I'm not paying you, but I'm having the food. And, all that kind of stuff was going on. It was really quite an anxiety-ridden channel, generally, for people like us. And through technology, through Deliveroo, they've taken a lot of that anxiety away. The challenge now is efficiency, throughput, ratings, get all that stuff right, get the modelling right, the pricing, etc. online, build your brand online. They've offered us enormous amount of marketing for our brand. We're much more well known by being on their platform than if we weren't. And the customer journey of ordering through the app is superb. It's best in class. That represents our brand fabulously well online. They're driving volume and like Rory Sutherland said, we met the other day off air. He said that customers are happy to wait a bit longer for their food, as long as they know how long they have to wait. Right? It's the not knowing that's annoying. Same with trains, right? So with the delivery app with Deliveroo, you can see your driver riding towards you. I mean, how brilliant is that? Even if they're delayed, you can see that as well. So we're not getting phone calls saying, "Where's my delivery?" Technology has been fantastic for us, and long may it continue. And I said one last point from me that we went to the Future Forward conference at Deliveroo's headquarters last week. About 100 restaurant partners were invited, and they were speaking about where Deliveroo is going. And actually, the app is going to become a bit of a social app. You'll have your account on Deliveroo. You can add your friends that have accounts on Deliveroo. You can share experiences from restaurant brands with them on Deliveroo, and have your review list and recommendation list. There'll be foodie influencers on Deliveroo's app that will have their recommended restaurants and you can follow them. Much more content-rich journey on Deliveroo's app is the future. I think that's only going to increase the usage of delivery. So now's the time to get on board and make yourself known.
That's really, really interesting.
It is. Our invites must have got lost in the post, Peter, to the Deliveroo conference. But hey, Josh, that sounds fantastic, to be fair. And it sounds like Deliveroo are going above and beyond where we are. It's time, isn't it, to almost go, are they taking back control? And on that note, I'm leaving it.
Yes, very science fiction. Yeah, absolutely. So, Josh, if anybody wants to contact you, how can they do that?
Yeah, if you go on to Joshua H. Simons, I think I'm on Instagram, Joshua Simons, LinkedIn. Check out Chicken and Blues at chickenandblues.com. If you're in the area, Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, the sunny coast of Bournemouth, then head on in and experience some of our Mama's Home Cooking, we call it.
Great. Is that Chicken and Blues? Chicken and Blues. With an ampersand or no? A-N-D?
Chicken and Blues, A-N-D, chickenandblues.com.
Great. Okay, so a big thank you to our fantastic guest, Josh Simons, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And here's a reminder that whether you're a delivery company, a marketplace app, a technology company, a restaurant owner, an investor, or simply someone who loves to order takeout, the Delivery Profits is the perfect way to stay informed and ahead of the curve in the world of delivery. You'll find the Delivery Profits on Spotify, Apple, or on other places where you normally get your podcasts. And please support the show by leaving a 5-star rating. And there's more at www.thedelivery.world/thedeliveryprofits. And with that, I'd just like to thank Avico and John but also somebody who never gets a mention, a shout out to Tim Alderson, who sits in the background here doing the technology and making sure that we're all under control. So thank you for that. Tune in to the next edition of the Delivery Profits for the insights, interviews and analysis that will keep you ahead of the game in this exciting and ever-evolving industry. And with that, it's goodbye from today's Delivery Profits. That's Josh and John and me. Goodbye.